In this video, we're going to apply the design intuition to life and see if any of the structures that make up life give rise to a higher level function or a top level function. To show this, I decided to start with something that we're all very familiar with, and that is the human hand. The human hand can obviously do many things, and we all know what those things are, some of which are to grip things, to hold things, to touch things, to push things, to pull things, to slap somebody in the face when they've annoyed you. None of these functions that I've listed actually exist in the components that make up the hand that give rise to these, and therefore these components are a top-level function. Or another way of saying it, if any of the structures that make up the hand go wrong in any way, then some of these top-level functions will cease to exist. As I discussed in video number 2, any structure which gives rise to a top-level function is always the product of design. Video number 2.2, I went into more detail of what it means to have a top-level function and how this implies a hierarchical structure. The elements that make up the hand can also be broken down in much the same way. You're going to have your atoms and your energy and your forces on the bottom layer, from which all molecules and everything else above that are fashioned. Your proteins are going to be made of amino acids, and then they're going to have to be structured in a certain way, in a certain space, for a certain fold to occur. After this, they're going to have to be in, your proteins themselves are going to have to be in a certain place on the next layer up, and they're going to have to be interacting with other molecules and working together to form muscle fibers and bones and nerves and many other structures. And then finally, when all of these layers are working together, as they should be, then finally you have your top level functions appear. When these elements or these layers that make up the hand go wrong in any way, or they don't exist, then your top level functions cease to exist as well. And this is what is meant by a hierarchical structure to the components that make up the hand. Another example would be something like the bacteria flagellum. The flagellum allows the bacteria to move through a liquid medium in search of a food source for survival. The bacteria flagellum, just like the hand, is at the mercy of lower level functions operating the way they're supposed to. So the bacteria flagellum would exist somewhere between the molecule section of our pyramid and the hand section. It's somewhere in between there. The bacteria flagellum is made up of many parts, and they all work together to produce the movement through a liquid medium. So the top level function of the bacteria flagellum would be movement through a liquid medium. Movement through a liquid medium is not found in the components themselves, so it would be a top level function. And as we discussed in video 2 and 2.2, anytime we come across a top level function in an object, we are correct in saying that object was designed. And this is because natural processes are incapable of producing objects that give rise to top level functions. In the next video, I'm going to explain why this is the case, why natural processes can't give rise to objects that have top level functions.
Modified endoplasmic reticulum